I don't feel confident in this, and they play a rock as well, and armor. Do we have enough power otherwise to beat 11 power? I don't know. It depends on what Ironheart hits. And two of ours. Oh, can we do this? We can do it. Hello everyone, TLSG here, back again with another Marvel Snap video. So it's that time of day again where we have a mystery card ready to unlock. So we're going to pull it, we're going to see what card it is, and we're going to build a deck around that card. So if you are watching this and you enjoy the content, if you like Marvel Snap, we're releasing daily content. So if you like it, give it a like down below. If you're watching this and you're not subscribed, maybe consider subscribing. With that being said, let's go ahead and pull our mystery card for today. And we have Lockjaw. So Lockjaw is one that I have wanted for quite a while. He feels really, really good in a big monster, big minion type deck. So let's say you're running Jubilee. You drop Lockjaw, then you drop Jubilee. Jubilee is going to pull in a Chavez or whatever other really high power cards you have in your deck. And then Lockjaw is going to cause that Jubilee to switch. So Jubilee will then go back into your deck. You can utilize her again later. And then you're going to get another minion, so another big minion, another utility minion. You get a lot of value out of this card for running it in a big minion deck. So let's see what we can build with it. I know there are two paths that I can think of initially that would be good. One being the big minion deck where you have Ghost Rider, Lady Sif, Jubilee, those big large cards, or another one that maybe benefits from cards being cycled, so like Ironheart, Wolfbane, those that like will trigger that on reveal that is really useful. And I'm not sure which one we're going to build. I think the big minion deck will be more powerful, but I want to take a look at it. Okay, so we did end up building a deck that really leans into Lockjaw's ability. So like I briefly mentioned, Jubilee, Wolfsbane, Ironheart, all cards that have really good on-reveal abilities, but are low or no power. The best way I could think to utilize this was in combination with a Mr. Negative deck. So all of the Mr. Negative decks that I've built previously have been like partial Mr. Negative decks and partial Devil Dinosaur decks, partial Control deck, partial Mr. Negative deck. This one is leaning more towards full Mr. Negative, where all of the cards benefit from Mr. Negative being played. So every single time that we draw him, we are going to want to play him on turn 4. Now, ideally, we would be able to have like a ramp condition to get this out earlier. So being like Psylocke or maybe even Sierra, Magic, something to extend the game. So we get some additional upside. But even without it, I think we have enough resources at this point that it becomes very beneficial to run this in this way. So I'm going to quickly run through the combos. So if you haven't seen my other Mr. Negative videos, Mr. Negative is one of my favorite cards. He has a really cool ability in that on reveal, you swap the power and cost of all cards in your deck. So Iron Man becomes a 0 cost 5 power, and then you get his ability, so he's a 0 cost 10 power. White Tiger, 1 cost 5 power, and you generate a 7 power token. Some really cool things that this can do. And so we want to be able to be competitive even if we don't draw into Mr. Negative, but we want to do everything we can to try and get him out. And so that being, we can do Jubilee. So if we don't have Mr. Negative in hand, and let's say we drew into Lockjaw Jubilee, we can play Lockjaw on turn 3. Turn 4, which Lockjaw, of course, being our card, when you play a card here, swap it with a card in your deck. And so then you play Jubilee on turn 4. On reveal, play the top card. It pulls a card. If it is Mr. Negative, great. If not, then it's going to pull a card, and then it's going to swap Jubilee back into the deck and pull another one. So we have an additional chance to get Mr. Negative. And then I did throw Adam Warrior in here. I don't know that this is the best choice or the most solid choice, but I want Adam Warlock to work. And then all of our other cards are high cost cards, so we are really leaning into the necessity to get Mr. Negative and to get our effect going. And so Devil Dinosaur, ongoing ability, everyone knows Devil Dinosaur at this point. I feel like he is going to go down in beta test infamy. Then Ironheart, which is a 3 cost, 0 power. On reveal, give 3 other cards plus 2 power. We can cycle that through ideally with Lockjaw. Nakia, on reveal, give all cards in your hand plus 2 power. So you don't, I feel like it'd be hard to run something like an Okoye. Either that or you'd have to hold it until after you play Mr. Negative so you don't get the downside of playing it. But Nakia we can hold and we can actually drop for the cards that are in hand. And seeing that we have a really high curve, I feel like we're going to have a lot of cards in hand pretty often. So I wanted to try Nakia here. Then we have Rogue, which is a 3 cost, 1 power. It steals their ability. That's going to swap it. 1 cost, 3 power, steal their ability. So very strong card in and of itself. And then you get the upside from Mr. Negative. Wolfsbane, if we play this onto a full lane, so let's say we play this into slot 3 of Lockjaw. It triggers the on reveal ability. It switches it back into your deck. Once we draw it again, we'll be able to do that on reveal again to increase this card's power even further. And then Jubilee, we've covered. Iron Man, very standard. White Tiger, and Leader. Leader being one that we haven't played much of. But Leader on reveal, copy all cards your opponent played this turn, but on your side. So if they're playing a high power deck, Leader can be beneficial. It's going to be a 4 cost after it gets hit with Mr. Negative. So it can provide some upside. I honestly ran out of things that would really benefit from Mr. Negative. And something like an Arnim Zola or a Psylocke or something to help, maybe even a Crystal, to help get those cards out that we want would be better, I think, in this slot. But I think Leader should be fine, and it could potentially swing us some games in our favor. And so with that being said, I am going to go ahead and jump into some games, and let's see how this does. So we draw into Baxter Building Jubilee, which is a nice card to have going into turn 4. And I don't think we're going against an actual person, which is okay. Kind of lets us test out the deck's potential, and then we can go from there. So we draw into our Lockjaw, which if we don't draw into Mr. Negative, is great. Is great to have, especially in combination with Jubilee. So it gives us several chances to get that card out on turn 4. So I think we drop Lockjaw into Baxter Building this turn. If we draw into Mr. Negative next turn, great. But if not, then we can drop Jubilee. So we don't. So in that case, we drop Jubilee. That is going to give us 1 additional chance. And then it's going to cycle back through and give us another additional chance. So a lot of ways to trigger and cheat Mr. Negative into your hand or onto the board more often. And so I like that. I feel like that feels really solid, because a lot of times with a Mr. Negative deck, if you don't get to play Mr. Negative, you're kind of out of luck. So he draws into Mr. Negative, perfect. And so then Jubilee is going to switch with one of those cards that have been inverted. And so being Ironheart, it could have been better, but that's not bad. We get the upside of at least 2 of the cards, and we get the 3 power from our Ironheart. So overall, not a bad play. So do we? I would rather do something like Wolfsbane here, but I feel like we need to steal that Devil Dinosaur away. And unfortunately, that means it's going to steal the Devil Dinosaur and then shoot it back into our deck, which is not great by any means, but it is far from terrible either. And so let's see what we end up drawing. We have a handful of cards left. We have Nakia, which will buff our hand. We have White Tiger and 1 other card in our deck still. So that one's going to steal it. It's going to shoot back into our deck. One thing I don't know is if it retains that ongoing ability now that it's back in the deck. Jubilee, please, Jubilee, no. Why would Jubilee do that to me? So, what will be the best play line? I could do something like something like this would get me 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, and it would take that power away from him. And so I think he has to split his power up. That Jubilee was really unfortunate. It made it where we don't necessarily have that lane locked down. And so actually I think we play the White Tiger here. We're going to need additional power into probably this lane. And if I thought he was going to play places other than here, or if I had a better read on what he was going to play, the leader may be a card that we would play, but I think for this turn we lock this in. I think it's a computer. Looking at like these card variants, it's very computer-like. So I think we're fine. I don't think we have to worry about it. They send a lot of resources into Warpath, but we're going to very, very handily and heavily take this mid lane. And so nothing to worry about here. And that's definitely not how we want the deck to run. That Jubilee is something we need to really keep track of what cards we have in our deck. And if we send a Jubilee back, it becomes scary to fill up that last slot. So we need to keep that in mind. For this game, we're going against Dara JN, which, if I remember right, they used to support a Hulk avatar. So I think they may have recently reached Infinite for this season. So congratulations, Dara, if you just recently reached Infinite. But we have our Lockjaw, which is a good play. I really like the feel of Lockjaw on turn 3. It gives us an additional chance to get, oh no, not Weird World. So we still have a couple of ways to cheat out cards. Well, I guess really one. We have Lockjaw. We have Lockjaw. And we don't really want to cheat out that because then he would draw from it. Okay, so how do we win then? I'm gonna drop Angela into the unknown lane. We need some kind of upside, some kind of advantage, and so hopefully this turns into one that works in our favor. Not necessarily. Very interesting. How do we play? Because if we drop Lockjaw and drop cards onto it, it's gonna cycle those cards back into our deck, which Dara is gonna be able to draw. And it's going to pull cards from our deck, which are geared around being swapped. So I don't think Lockjaw is worth it in this scenario. I think we Wolfsbane, and then we start spreading our cards out into the other lanes so that we can maybe set up a potential leader on turn 6 to really just get a feel for what Dara is going to play and how they're going to play it. Into a Scarlet Witch. So we could drop Scarlet Witch into Weird World where it would change it, but at this point in the game, it's so far into the game, I don't know that that's worth it. I want to drop resources, but at the same time, I don't want to flood the board in case he floods it on turn 6, and we want to copy that with our leader. I think I just drop Strong Guy here and hold 2 mana. That way I can match the number of cards he has in this lane, and then he has Mr. Negative, and so that's going to change his deck, which I will then draw from. So an odd choice, unless you have high power, low cost cards. And so either way, we're in a decent spot. We're going to drop Iron Man into Central Park, and then we will drop Leader in one of the first 2 lanes, depending on how and where he plays here. So he filled up Weird World. So that tells me that I'm able to drop Leader there. I don't think you're going to be able to empty your hand, and I definitely am not. And so then Mojo. So that tells me I'm going to be able to drop Leader here and not have to worry about missing out on cards that he's playing. The only place that I have to worry about that is going to be in Xandar, because I have 3 and he only has 1. But if we drop Leader here, that is not enough to swing this lane, is it? Do I ever just play it outright then and just do 3, 4, 5, 6, which would be 12? and then drop a card here. Maybe we give up this mid lane and we just compete for these other two. As much as I want to use leader, I think this is the safer of the two plays. And then as long as Scarlet Witch doesn't hurt us here, then I think we survive and I think we win. We're rolling the dice. Weird world, or murder world, so it's fine. We win that one. Lockjaw is going to trigger our Angela to buff up again, and it's going to push us just over that ledge. So really close. Really close, Dara. That was a tough one. It was a very tough one. We get Lockjaw in our opening hand again, so we've been pretty fortunate with drawing Lockjaw. And so we also have Devil Dinosaur, Adam Warlock, which will be a trigger that we can use to kind of cycle with Lockjaw. And we do have our Mr. Negative, so not a bad hand. We can also do Wolfsbane, which will then buff itself up and then send it back into the deck. A lot of good play lines here. So I think we still skip turn 2. We don't drop Warlock anywhere. We don't necessarily need to. We want to make sure we get the upside from Mr. Negative by keeping our cards in our deck as long as we can. Unfortunately, we draw into Iron Man. And so another cool thing you could do with Lockjaw, if there is a card you absolutely feel like you need to have the upside on, you can play it onto Lockjaw before you drop Mr. Negative. So if you, for some reason, wanted to drop our Devil Dinosaur back in there, we could. It would, of course, pull a different card out, and a potential option that you have. I like the options that Lockjaw open up. It makes it feel a lot more versatile, a lot more solid. It kind of solidifies the deck archetype as a whole. And then, of course, there are going to be some more cards that you can unlock that will make it better. But I think overall it feels so much more solid than what it did when we first kind of featured Mr. Negative, now that we have some of these other resources. Now, I don't think Adam Warlock will stay in this deck line. I think when I get Wasp, I'll probably put Wasp in here. A 0 cost, like 1 power or 2 power, whatever power it is, card that I'll be able to put into this deck and we can easily trigger. And so we do have leader here. Interesting. Do we want to drop him this turn? Because 6 cost cards cost 1 less, and he was going to be 4, so it reduces it down to 3. I think actually we go for as much upside out of Lockjaw as possible. We're going to play Warlock, that'll get sent back into the deck. We'll play Wolfsbane, which will get buffed and then sent back into the deck, and see what we can cheat out. We have Jubilee in there still. We have Rogue, which would steal Ant-Man's ability, not great. We have Ironheart, which is a decent one for us to pull out. And so we have a couple of pretty good options. We have our biggest ones in hand, obviously. So it does pull Rogue, which is going to pull the Ant-Man ability. Nothing great, but odds are we will cap out this location anyways. And then Wolfsbane will start getting buffed up. It's sent back in the deck. What can we get? A Jubilee? No, an Ironheart. That's not bad. And it does hit this lane. So now we have Jubilee for our final turn. But in our deck, we have Wolfsbane. And is it worth playing? Or do we do something like this and just not play the Jubilee? Because we have Adam Warlock in the deck, which is not great to pull. We have Wolfsbane, which would be great. And then we have, I think, Nakia is what's left. And so not one that we necessarily want to pull. So I think we do. I think we play Devil Dinosaur here. We play Leader, but we're not going to win this lane unless he drops just some massive power. Do we roll the dice? Do we roll the dice with whatever he plays over here? I think we do. I don't think we win this lane, but I think what we're trying to do is hold down the left and the right lane. So let's do that. We will copy whatever he plays on the left side, which does look like is 2 cards. So Onslaught, not a bad one. And then our Devil to trigger with our Devil Dinosaur, not a bad one at all. And if he has, what is he? And then it's Misty Knight, so not going to do it. And then Wasp, which of course is not going to do it. And so Leader is scary to play. Leader is very scary to play. But since we had 2 lanes that were already won, it should be assumed that it's fairly safe to drop, because then if they play something that's going to cause them to swing one of those 2 lanes, you get to play it as well, and so it should swing it back in your favor. But it's harder to anticipate and play around. And so I don't think we talked about it much, but as I've been playing this deck, there are a few tweaks that I would make if I was drafting it again from scratch. So I would actually, I know I mentioned Okoye maybe not being the best card in this deck, but I think I would actually add Okoye into this list with Lockjaw and with the combination of Lockjaw. I think it'd be really good. You're getting the instant upside of that boost into your deck, and you can trigger it multiple times. With Nakia, you are getting that upside with cards in your hand, but are you getting it immediately? No. So Okoye, you could drop on turn 6 into a Lockjaw lane, and you still get that upside right away. And then as long as you wait until after you drop Mr. Negative, it'd be okay. We don't have a great play line here. We have some decent resources, but we don't have a clear path. So I'm just gonna drop Devil Dinosaur here. We're gonna drop Jubilee into the mid, but odds are we pull a rock. So with the way Jubilee works and that mechanic, if we reshuffle our deck, most of the time we'll pull something other than the Chavez, or other than really anything else that we want. And that's that's unfortunate that they had the Shang-Chi. It's looking pretty grim, guys. Pretty grim. We are gonna play some rocks over here. We're just gonna rock it out and get the +3 power from Washington D.C. And then we did. Ooh, you're running a claw. You're running a what looks like a strange deck. Of course we get. No, why? Why would you do this? Okay, do we have a shot at winning here? Like, is there any chance that we win? So we could do this, potentially push this lane. Potentially push this lane? Is that how we want to do it? Or do we want to... I think we want to... Here, we'll undo all actions. I'm getting accustomed to using it. I like it. So I think we drop the rock first, so that Ironheart can potentially trigger on both of these rocks. Both of these rocks. We're laying our fate on 2 rocks, on a pair of rocks. So we'll see. We will see. And then Ironheart, Wolfbane being able to trigger at max here. I don't feel confident in this, and they play a rock as well, and armor. Do we have enough power otherwise to beat 11 power? I don't know. It depends on what Ironheart hits. And 2 of ours. Oh, can we do this? We can do it. We, in no world, should have won that game. Like, what? Like, we played a Jubilee that pulled a rock. We played Ironheart and Wolfsbane, Mr. Negative. The rest were just rocks. We drew 4 of our 5 rocks that were shuffled into our deck, or we acquired either through Jubilee or draw. Washington D.C. saved our tail, and then it grabbing the upside of Mr. Negative and being free, just everything lined up just perfectly. And I don't know that I finished my thought, but I would switch out Nakia for Okoye. I think you get additional upside and more consistent upside out of it. I would switch Adam Warlock for a Psylocke so that we can ramp up and get Mr. Negative out quicker, or even our other pieces, so like Jubilee, Lockjaw. And then when we unlocked Arnim Zola, I would probably replace Leader for Arnim Zola to be able to duplicate a card across the board, and if that play was underwhelming, if we were capping out lanes too frequently, then I would switch that for maybe something else. A blue Marvel feels underwhelming, but you could sneak him out several times through Lockjaw that may make it worthwhile. But those are the small tweaks that I would make to the deck so far. We're going against Dante Inferno this time. Murder World being the first location, but we do have Mr. Negative in hand, which will allow us to do some good things, some really big things. And we get Tinkerer's Workshop, so we get an additional energy this turn. If we had Lockjaw, I think it'd be great, but I think we just drop Devil Dinosaur instead. Yes, it gives them a lot of time to drop like a rogue or something of the sort, but I think we do the Devil Dinosaur and then just kind of play it by ear from there. Ironheart's not a good value at that point. We just pass. And they did use a Moon Girl on their first, it was 3 cards that they were able to duplicate. And so I don't know what they could have been targeting. And now we can play in Murder World. Murder World is free now to make sure we don't lose our cards. We don't want to play in the Gila until we just absolutely have to, so probably turn 6. But we're going to drop Mr. Negative and then probably Jubilee over on the left-hand side so that we can trigger some of the upside to our... he destroyed Cable. Trigger some of the upside to our deck. Because we still have Iron Man in there. We have Wolfbane, which is a really good card to have inversed. And so do we play Jubilee here? Or do we ever do something like this? Where we start buffing him up, we switch him out, and then we have a chance to still draw into him next turn. Let's go ahead and do that. Is it the best play? I don't know, maybe not. But is it the play I want to do? Yes. So they did duplicate their Devil Dino. So if we can draw into a rogue, not flip into a rogue, but if we can draw into one, it'll be really, really, really beneficial here. And so Nakia is not bad, not great, but not bad. And so he is winning 2 of the lanes very heavily. And so in our deck, we have we have Wolfbane and then either Iron Man or Rogue. Do we play the odds? Do we drop that there and then drop Adam Warlock here to switch him out with whatever card Jubilee doesn't draw? And then that way hopefully we can win this one. Ideally we can swing this one. Or do we play it? Nah, I think we play it in the middle. And I think we do play the Jubilee first. So whatever 2 cards we could get them in whatever order, just depending on what order we play, either Warlock or Jubilee. I think we're feeling this is going to be the Rogue. That's it. This is the Rogue. And even if not, we may have a decent shot at this lane. But I think that's where we lock in. And then we just kind of hope. Like we're doing a coin flip. We have 2 cards. He did steal 1, so either Rogue or Iron Man is in his hand. And if it's Iron Man and he drops it mid, a Rogue is going to be very, very necessary in that mid lane to win. So he drops Cable mid. Oh no! So Jubilee's gonna pull out the card. Why would you do that? You're so mean. And they dropped Enchantress in the left lane, which is odd. And then, so it is the Rogue. So they got Wolfbane. On the left-hand side, we're gonna win that lane by 1 because Adam Warlock is inverse to 0-1. So that means we would have gotten our Wolfbane on the mid lane had he not cabled it. Oh boy. This deck has been very consistent. I think we're on a 6-1 streak, and we've climbed almost 1.5 full ranks. It's very almost stressful. Like, you know what key pieces you have, you just have to play into the odds and the statistic of drawing those. And so it's a deck that's going to make you think. But I like it. I think it feels really solid. As we unlock a few other cards, we'll still be able to tweak it more. But I think it just feels, really good. I think all of the pieces, except for Adam Warlock, which, yes, he came in and won the game for us this turn, but I think overall, I think he's relatively weak in this setup. And so I think if I was going to change one of the cards out, it would be Warlock, but I don't know what for just yet. And so I may go back to the drawing board a little bit, but as far as this video goes, I am going to go ahead and end it here. I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. Lockjaw is a card that I have been looking forward to for a really long time. So it really starts opening up your potential to do cycles, to cycle through cards, to pump out a lot of additional value, to play your Jubilee and you switch that 1 power card away to drop an Okoye, to drop a Nakia, and then switch that card out so that you're not having that downside of that almost useless body at that point. You've got the on reveal effect already taken care of, and then now you just have a 1 power unit. So whereas before we would Carnage them, now we have another option of potentially using Lockjaw to get some additional upside out of it. So I'm really excited to kind of try out some different decks with Lockjaw. I have a few in mind that I'm going to want to tinker around with and find a good deck list. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you leave it a like down below. It lets me know that you enjoyed the content. But otherwise, I'm going to end it here. This has been TLSG. Later, guys.